right, $40,000 ante. The blinds are 2,000, 200,000, 400,000.
What's the ante?
40 ante.
40 ante.
2-4, right?
Yeah, I took all the blue ball.
Yeah,
Do
button
take
good.
any blues then?
Last 3 times?
Yeah, this is the last. This is the last one.
I thought it would go to 50 in this one.
Are you sure you got a bumper, guy?
You can tell when somebody got chips, they want their antes to go up. That's complaining
All
about
right,
the
Leo's
antes
the
being
big
up.
blind. Daniel's the small blind. Mike will be first to act.
200?
We don't all run like God. We want the antes to
200,
be down.
400 blinds.
All right, we're back here at Event 15, the Borgata Winter Poker Open, $1 million guarantee, and we are 8-handed. I'm Matt Matros, and with me is Mike Gagliano.
Gagliano, you got it, Matt.
And Tyler Patterson.
Get it on there, Tyler.
Oh, hello, guys.
There he
now
is.
I'm on.
So we're picking right back up with the action. As Matt said, there's 8 left, and they're still all playing for that $194,000 first place.
Quick all in for 6 blinds with 2 sevens from Rob, which you would expect.
And Leo with ace-jack. Leo is second in chips, so I don't think we're going to see him going anywhere with this hand.
He can't fold this hand for a 6-blind shove.
The big blind is 400,000 now. Blinds have gone up once again, and Leo's just going to verify account before making this call. I can't imagine he lays a hand this good down.
No, this is going to be a call. This is going to be a coin flip situation.
He is thinking about it. I like that. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. He wants to make sure everything's what he thinks it is.
I mean, I would verify the
make sure
amount.
you know.
And he does make the call. So we're going to hit the races for Rob's tournament life here. Leo's going to be looking for an ace or a jack.
Has pocket 7, 7 of spades.
Or the royal flush.
Or the royal flush. Right off the bat, he's looking for an ace or a jack, though. First thing he's looking for. And here's the flop.
The flop is a king of clubs.
Pretty good for Rob. Not really any backdoor outs too much there
that's a really
for
good
Leo.
flop for 2 sevens. You can see his equity moved up to 73%, so you know that's a good spot. If those threes had been 2 8s, it wouldn't have been so good. But. Well, there's a Broadway
There's
draw.
some new outs.
You know, I just said there weren't that many backdoor draws, but there's one of them.
Yeah.
And Leo picks up some outs at the 10
but
now.
still 77% equity for the 2 sevens.
Leo's like, yeah, I'll take that card.
All right, let's
Rob looking off from the rail. Will this be his last
Borders
card?
behind him.
No, it will not.
The 2 sevens hold up, and Rob is going to double up here.
So now, even though Leo's the chip leader, that does hurt him a bit. Leo's going to be down to about 13 million.
Stacks are so short that almost any pot you lose at this point hurts, even against a 6-blind stack.
Absolutely.
For sure.
We'll see how Leo takes that beat moving forward. You know, I call it a beat and kind of a beat that you just lose the flip there.
Yeah, again, we all know there's nothing Leo could have done. We all said he has to call here, and there's no decision to be had. Sometimes you just have to lose some chips in this game.
Yeah, sometimes the deck decides.
Yes. A lot, actually, but yes.
So we've been informed by Tab that the chips that we couldn't make out the colors are actually black and orange. They don't look black and orange from here.
We'll take your word for it,
We'll
Tab.
take Tab's word for it, yeah.
Tab, a fantastic tournament director here.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Takes care of his players, listens to the players, creates structures based on players' comment, picks the events based on players' input.
Really, his
Tab
only
is the
flaw
best.
is that he's a 49ers fan, I think.
Also, he picked us to do the live stream. So.
Oh, that might be a flaw.
Yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance to come out to the Borgata and play some poker, you definitely are missing out. If you're into poker at all, there's something here for you to play. So stop on by and check it out.
Big fields, good structures.
Hey, there's us.
That is us. You can't see us in the shot, but those are our names. Nice, good wide shot here at the poker room. You see the 6 max event right just the tip of the bottom there.
They're getting down there in that 6 max event. The final 2 or 3 tables, I think.
I mean, it's probably pretty star-studded. I mean, you would.
They played till 5 in the morning themselves last night to get down to the final 18. Yeah.
I think it actually went even later than that because I know someone who busted in 14th place, and I think he was done at like 5:45. So they passed the 6 o'clock margin, I think. So we see Dan Walk opening under the gun with what we only know is a queen, but he looks like that will be enough to take it down.
Through, yeah.
Last year in that 6 max tournament, Matt Affleck won, my buddy. We ended up going straight from here to the Super Bowl after that little victory. So
that was
a solid
weekend.
Pretty
fun.
That
Yeah, it was a great week.
Yeah. A good shot of Kelly, another tournament director here. She keeps things moving. So she just calls the live action down there.
She works hard. She's running around down there.
She was working super hard during this tournament on day 1. and day 2,
Did a
like on
great
the
job.
bubble. They were running around like crazy. They did a really good job of keeping track of all the players and keeping count and everything like that. So hats off to the.
It's tough to manage a 2,800 person field. They do a pretty
Yeah, I
good
mean,
job.
250 people cash. You got to make sure. You got to know where that money bubble bursts and find 251 and find 250. On break, they were trying to color everyone up. And I saw Tab out there cutting out chips.
This is an
and
interesting spot right here.
So
wow.
13
I'm
blinds.
impressed
Rob
by Rob.
open folds 2 4s, and there's 2 very short stacks still around.
All right, now
So-
hold it. Rob did the same thing with 2 6s under the gun when he had like the exact same stack
Yeah.
at the start of this final table.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the difference is there. I wonder if it's a first off. I mean, 6s is a better hand.
Yes.
So did he draw his line somewhere around there, or because you got to draw the line somewhere, or did he just double up? Maybe he feels good about doubling up and doesn't want to lose those chips.
Yeah, I mean,
There could be other factors like
the
the,
two
the
very
pay
short
jump is
stacks,
different
yeah.
now. The short stacks are different now. Like 12 big blinds means a lot more now than it did when we were 10-handed and people had more chips.
I mean, if you can get 8th is 23,483. If you can get to 6th, that's 46,406. So he can double his guaranteed money if he just busts those 2 short stacks. And I mean, I probably would have moved in, but I can see what he was thinking.
I think with 2 4s folding is fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's definitely
I actually
fine.
think I would've
It's definitely fine.
And that's interesting having a few players in this booth here. 3 of us have like kind of 3 different views on that hand. Like, so you see some stats here pre-flop on Leo. And so the first stat is VPIP, and this is voluntarily puts money in pot.
That's right.
You want to explain that, Matt?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's when you put money in that you didn't have to. So posting a big blind or posting a small blind doesn't count. But if you have chosen to put extra money in with the hand, then that counts as a hand that you voluntarily put money
Any
in.
raises, any calls.
Yeah.
And so we've seen him play about 32% of hands so far, and I believe that's the highest at the table.
It's a fun graphic. It's fun to talk about, but I mean, obviously the sample size is so small that it's
Yeah,
not
we've
favorable.
only seen a couple orbits hands here.
So Travell with a pretty standard move in here with 6 blinds with King Queen. And he's, I think, is going to get called by 2 3s.
I don't know.
You know, this is close if you're Ben. One of the problems here is Ben only has 5.5 million or so. He calls this like half of his stack. He's going to be in Travell's situation if he calls and loses his hand. He's going to be the short stack with only 6 bigs. So, you know, you talked earlier about having fold equity and trying to retain that. This may be one of those spots where you kind of let it go and just say, I'm going to wait and pick a better spot to shove.
Travell has been pretty tight with raises, too. I mean,
We've only seen him shove. I think he shoved once blind versus blind. That was all he shoved so far.
so there's probably a better chance than usual that you're facing a bigger pair and not just 2 overcards. Still, I mean, when someone shoves for 6 blinds and you have 2 3s in the big blind, it's, man, that's a tough spot to
Really
find
tough.
a fold.
And this is a really good example of trying to make an ICM calculation. If you can try to put the chip values into real cash dollar value, it'll help
Ben
you
does
make
make
this
the
decision.
call.
It's really tough.
Yeah, and if this were any other stage in the tournament, this would be an automatic instant call. The only reason why it's even under consideration is because of these pay jumps that we're talking about. But Ben does make the call, so we're going to have a coin flip situation.
Another coin flip, and we'll see if the pair can hold up again or if Travell can find the double. Well, that's a good flop
Yet
for the
another
pair.
set, man. There's lots of sets going down here.
There have been. And Travell is in quite bad shape now. He's going to need running straight cards. Otherwise,
pick
he's
up
going to
a
be
sweat.
eliminated.
We can get a 10 here for a sweat.
No sweat.
Deuce
at
is
all.
that's the driest turn card you can get. And Travell's going to be eliminated in 8th place.
8th place for 23,483.
So
Good run by Travell.
yeah, congrats
Oh,
again to
great.
Travell.
He made that fantastic laydown with the top pair when he was facing middle
He did.
set.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was a
that's-
really tough spot. And
pretty
really,
great.
you know, shows the range of his abilities.
And he really likes to use his post-flop reading skills, like I said earlier, and you can tell that, I mean, with the not shoving pre-flop with those hands like King, Queen, and Ace, King, and there was a pair in there, I think,
He was
too.
chatting up Dan Walker in that hand. I'm sure he was
Yeah.
trying to pick something up there. He did make the correct laydown, so he may have gotten the right thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, good job, Travell.
So we're down to 7-handed. Are we going to see his play start shifting yet? Are we going to see more flops and more aggression, or are they still going to be kind of playing tight, waiting for those other short stacks to bust
Yeah, we
there?
still do have at least one really short stack. Well,
If we can get the stacks can
Yeah.
combine a little bit in the next few hands, like
Ting
before
is
the level goes
down
up.
to about 3 big blinds
Ting
there.
Ting
He's
is our
really
micro
been
stack at this point. So
he's really been having a rough
I
day.
think we're going to have to
card-wise.
lose Ting, or at least have Ting double up before we really see the fireworks start.
I think with him having 3 big blinds there, or 4 at the time, that might have been a spot for me to fold the 3s. If I was
Good
in,
point. Good
Yeah.
point,
in
Tyler.
Ben's
I didn't
spot.
realize he was
Yeah, I
that
didn't
short.
either, yeah.
So Dan opens the button with 9-6 off. I don't think Dan's even going to look at his cards, honestly, at this point. With those 2 on his left, he's just going to open pretty much anything.
With a 3 stack out there? No, he's just open. Yeah.
Yeah, they just can't do much to him. So, and Dan knows that. You know, one of the things that this, you know, at final tables is your table draw and where your seat is, and how stacks will line up and that kind of thing. And when you have 2 big stacks, whoever gets the seat on the left, the other one is the advantage. And Dan by far is the best seat at this table. Dan Walk. Dan Buzzgon probably has the worst seat at this table.
Yeah, all the
with the
chips
2
on-
big stacks on his left.
All the chips on Buzzgon's left. He's managed okay with it so far, but that's probably why you've seen him play a little tighter than maybe we would have expected.
We've also seen him get aces and kings, and that helps you battle those big stacks.
Especially when they hold up.
So each jump now for the next 3 or so are all, it's like 11,000. What do we got here? We got 11,000, 12,000, 12,000 again. So the payouts are so flat now, and then steep at the top that once that 3 big blind stack is gone, it's really time to gamble. Like it's time to those 12,000 jumps are just not worth waiting for when you have a $140,000 jump.
Yeah, a chance at
slightly ahead.
194.5 exactly.
Ting's going to move all in for his last 3. He's in the big blind,
He's
actually.
basically calling.
And he's going to
all
call
in,
it off.
Yeah. I mean,
Leo's going to ask for a count.
it's not actually a call. He's raising.
He is
potentially
raising,
5,000
yeah.
more, but there are no 2 cards in the deck that Leo could have that he would fold here. So.
And Leo will call.
So Ting's actually in much worse shape than he's hoping for here. You're hoping for 2 live cards with Queen 2, and unfortunately only has the 1.
To be clear, when you've posted a third of your stack, though, and you have a suited queen, there's nothing you can do.
No,
You
not
have to
really.
call it off.
It's actually good for him that he ended up only playing against 1 person. Against 2, that queen deuce is pretty tough to
All right,
win.
he's got 5 outs and a backdoor diamond
That's a
draw
pretty good
going
flop if
forward
you're
here.
Ting.
Yeah, that's not
Other
bad.
than hitting a queen, you're pretty excited about this flop. Queen or 2 immediately will take the lead for Ting.
That's not a good card.
Jack doesn't really change much.
Oh, it's just another card gone.
It's just another one
Yeah.
out of the deck.
And the river.
Here we come. All right, so now we lose Ting. Another big payout. What do we got? 34,000 there. Wow. For a
Ting actually did pick
$450
up 3 outs with the Jack. The 6 pairs, the board double pairs, and he picks up
Oh,
outs.
good point.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
That's why you're a professional.
But yeah, Ting will be eliminated in 7th place and receive $34,000 and some change for his finish.
So now we don't have any micro stacks anymore, and we're gonna see some fireworks. I think.
I think we are now. 6-handed. This is where you definitely see some stuff happen. And you know, it's funny. Ting had a pretty bad day. You know, he started with a kind of short stack, and he really, I don't think, picked up 1 hand all day. We saw just him
No, he
folding
never did.
pretty much garbage after garbage. But he still managed to ladder up over $23,000 from.
Wow.
it's not a bad
10th place.
day's work. For
No, honestly, you know, and that's what
Good
separates people
observation.
sometimes. You know, that's what separates, you know, an amateur from professional sometimes is making that extra money. Hey, if you're in New Jersey, be sure to join everyone for the BorgataPoker.com, the Garden State Super Series, big online series. It's coming to a conclusion this weekend with the main event on Sunday. Have you guys had a chance to check out the Borgata online
I did.
site?
It's pretty cool to be able to play legal online poker in the United States. So
Yeah, I mean,
I did.
I
Get to
can't
play
play
a
it in
little
my home state of New York, so I'm jealous of New Jersey
Hopefully
guys.
soon.
Yeah,
Hopefully New
soon.
York's coming along soon.
Still a
but
felony in Washington State.
well,
I'm
they're
That might
looking
change.
to change
Yeah,
that
might
too.
change up too.
Our Washington's looking to regulate online poker too. So my favorite thing is just, you know, you can put money on and take it off right here at the cage.
Yeah, that's really
Real
cool.
easy.
It's really convenient.
Super easy and convenient, and just cash outs are really easy and everything like that. So I'm a big fan.
So
And
Tyler,
they have a big
good
lineup of tournaments, and this Sunday there's a big schedule of guarantees.
I
It's
think
actually
it's over
pretty cool.
$400,000 guaranteed tomorrow. They have a bunch of different main events, different buy-in levels, all kinds of stuff. So check it out if you guys are in New Jersey.
You could bring your iPad down, or
They
maybe not an
actually have
iPad.
computers here. They have computers over in the lounge there.
Some real
Yeah.
fireworks here going on, guys.
So-
Dan Walk opens in the hijack, and Rob 3-bets from the button to, I don't know, about
1.6.
more than a third of his chips. It looks like. Did we know Rob was this short? That he had 11
Well,
blinds?
Rob just doubled.
Okay, right.
Remember, he
So-
folded, and then he folded the 4s.
That's right.
That
So-
looks unbelievably strong
That looks
to me.
really crazy strong. I agree
Yeah.
with Tyler.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
Dan
Dan's
makes the same
I would
read.
fold ace jack
We don't know what
there,
they
and if you
have,
shove,
but-
I
fold ace
might
jack.
have
I
called.
would fold a lot of hands there. Yeah.
Rob is representing that he has aces or kings, basically.
I would
Now,
imagine
whether
he
or not
does.
he actually does, we don't know, but we think so. We all think in
Yeah.
agreement. Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, ace king is a monster too. Maybe queens, but yeah, it looked like a monster for sure.
Also, Dan is opening like absurdly wide there, so he's going to be folding most of what he's opening.
Yeah. But if you're Dan, are you calling shove with a wider range there than you are putting it in over that 3-bet?
Oh, definitely.
I am too.
You know, I mean,
the guy
For sure.
for sure.
if I have like a hand like, let's say 2 9s maybe, and he shoves there, I'm like not really happy, but I'd probably call.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I would
agree-
think
I
he
agree
might
with
have
with all of that.
ace queen or ace jack or maybe even 2 8s sometimes, and we might be in okay shape. When he does that, I don't think he ever is bluffing, and my 9s are just never good there.
Whoa.
So we see Dan open again here, and we
Rob
know
just
he's
snaps
king
it
7
all in.
suited. Yeah, I mean, Rob is ace king this time.
And he didn't even think about the small. And he's got more chips, and he still didn't think about a small 3-bet.
So we
just
know
ripped
he
it.
was
So it
definitely
almost had to
nutted.
be aces or kings last.
Definitely was nutted last hand.
I hope
Those
Rob's
are
leveling us
really
all.
unfortunate spots for Dan, where he raises back-to-back hands, and a player who's been playing pretty tight so far
Just has it.
plays hand, moves
Yeah.
in both times. That's really just unlucky when you have a big stack like that, and every pot is so important. Those are really can be make or break situations in these types of.
But the
tournaments.
handcuffs are off now, so people can fire away without worrying about.
Oh, we
you
just
know,
saw
moving
Dan
up
open
that
king
limp.
7 there, so I think we're
Right.
definitely going to see more of that.
Yeah, 6-handed now. They should open up a lot.
All right, players, it looks like we have just found out that we will be taking another break.
I'm excited to see Buzzcon have some chips now. So.
He still doesn't have
get-
that many. He's only got
Yeah.
15 bigs now.
Oh,
Blinds-
really?
Well, the
Jeez.
blinds went up. Big blind's 400,000
Oh,
now,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's got 6 million.
That's funny. Yeah, it's
You know,
tough.
I mean,
after
it
that double,
relatively-
he had 20 bigs, or 25 bigs, I think. and he
Ben
was
Dean
in
with
third.
20 blinds here is going to open this Jack 10 suited in the hijack.
I like this. You know, he hasn't been getting too out of line yet. He just picked up some chips and might as well put them to use.
Yeah,
great.
I would open this hand all day here.
Wow, but
Unfortunately,
Leo wakes up
he's going
behind
to
him.
run into Leo's third pair of jacks on the day.
Man, Leo's had some big hands. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with these jacks.
Looks like he's just going to shove for the 20 blind effective.
And-
Meaning Leo has more than 20 blinds, but the most he can lose in the hand is 20 blinds. So I think this is fine. What do
I
you
think it's a fine way to play the hand. You know, you can make arguments for 3-betting and then calling a shove. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Leo even flat here based on how we saw him play the 2 jacks earlier versus Dan Walk, but I think this is a pretty easy way to play the hand. You're going to
Yeah.
take it down a lot. If you get called, you probably have the best hand a lot still.
Yeah, you're going to get looked up by worse pairs.
Oh,
there, I
definitely,
think, so
definitely.
It's a good way to get a lot of value out of it that you might miss if you see a flop and there's overcards and you check it down against 2 9s and now you just wish you'd gotten it in pre-flop.
Exactly. That's the worst when you could have gotten someone's money and then the bad flop came out.
Yeah.
We talked about slots before. You can earn 5 times slot dollars for the whole month of. No, that can't be right. January 31st and February 1st.
You almost,
Those 2 days.
you almost had anyone rushing to
Those
the
2
Borgata.
days you can earn 5 times slot dollars.
Which is still a great deal.
Nice
It's
job.
not,
That
but,
is still is a good deal.
but it's not the whole month. Of
Not the whole
February,
month. No,
unfortunately.
no. Maybe next time, hint, hint, Borgata.
Well, Ben under the gun with another good suited Broadway card.
He
kinda
just goes
hand.
right back at it. I like
Oh, he
this.
limped this time.
Oh, did he?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm
It
not-
says 400 to call,
I'm
but
not
that's
sure
probably not the correct
what
route.
he did. It looks like. No, it looks like he
Wait,
did.
he
He did
folded.
limp.
He put chips in.
I thought he put chips in too, but maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, he did. He did limp. Because Dan just checked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he did
he
limp.
limped under the gun.
Good eye for Tyler there. I
And,
saw him put chips in.
So it's ace 4 offsuit from the big blind and king 10 suited for Ben, who's limped under the gun. And
Okay, I'm going to
I'm
say
surprised he would check it back here. You think he would just pick up this pot with a bet? So
I'm
often
going to
after
say
everyone
Dan
else
Walk
folded.
wins this pot.
Especially after the check back on the flop, I tend to agree with you. He's not.
Even if he bet the flop, I don't think Dan just folds ace high here. You know, I'm not
yeah,
sure.
on that particular board, it's a tough fold because do we really think Ben limped with a pair? And
Probably
maybe
not.
he might have limped with 2 5s or something, but he's. Ooh, look at this.
Now this is interesting. Michael's going to go ahead and raise here. Now remember, Michael is king 10 suited, so he's king 10 of hearts. He has not a lot of equity, presumably. Versus Dan's hand, it's actually quite
Wow.
strong.
It was a great play.
I think that's Ben, by the way, in the 1 seat.
Ben.
Our graphic says Michael, but I'm pretty sure that's Ben.
Yeah, that is Ben. It says that's why
a
I.
heck of a raise by
That check back is what won him the pot, I think. There, I think that's if he bets the flop, he might have to deal
well,
with the check
he
raise.
made the maximum because if he raises under the gun, he's just going to win the blind. So he got an extra bet out of the hand the way he played it. Very interesting
There's
move.
2 times we've seen savvy check backs and bluff the turn instead of the flop on paired boards, which I think it's savvy. I think they're playing well.
Very sophisticated play for sure.
What's interesting too is that he limped King 10. He could easily probably have a hand like Jack 10 or King Jack, and with the 2 jacks on board, I could see him definitely playing the hand the same way.
The
with those
post-flop play, he
hands.
was definitely representing that he limped with something like what you're saying. Yeah.
But there's also small pairs that aren't going to fold there, maybe even aces. Those are other hands that people limp with sometimes.
I'm honestly surprised, a little surprised to see. Maybe not. I was gonna say I was surprised to see Dan just bet the turn and then just fold so quickly. But maybe not. I am surprised to see him fold King 4 off in the small button there and just give Ben a walk. Maybe that last hand, caught him off guard a bit and he doesn't want to mess with Ben anymore.
Yeah, he might think Ben is changing gears and not want to take a bad
Looks like
hand with
Ben
him out
is.
of position. Yeah, and it does look like Ben is changing gears.
He
Yeah,
looks
that's
like
true.
he's ready to play. Look at that. Look at the determination on his face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he had the bluff of his life with 80 players left.
Oh, yeah,
sure
we
that
saw
was
that
on
on
Twitter.
interview.
I wonder if
want
that
that
King 10
interview.
bluff was a bigger, was a bigger bluff for him. Maybe that was a bigger bluff since it's a
It's a bigger situation.
yeah, it's
for
a much
sure,
bigger
but
stage
it's-
at this point.
Ben, after this is over, take to your Twitter account and tell us about why you decided to bluff that King 10 suited and whether it was now the biggest bluff of your life.
I want to hear about the first.
I think he's
biggest
going to say
bluff.
the first one. This first one has to be something special. I'm
You got to come to
gonna
million
get
chips,
this
right, in
interview.
early
I think
stages.
on
You
the
gotta
next-
get that
on
hand
the next
history.
break. I think I'm going to get that interview.
Well,
I wanna
looking
hear
forward
it.
to that one. Leo just folds 10-7 suited in the hijack, so he's not putting the pedal to the metal too much.
So wait, where did that ace-6 open come from earlier? That was a little.
Pretty early, right?
Yeah, that was a really early position raise. I'm just very surprised to see him, open that with 10-handed and then not even consider the 10-7.
In a hijack situation.
In the hijack,
six-handed, yeah. So Ben's flatting here with ace deuce suited, so he's definitely opening up his game a little bit. We saw him playing tighter than this earlier. Is Rob considering putting chips in with 10-6 offsuit?
Yeah, he's getting a pretty good price. I mean, your hand doesn't flop too great here, and you have 2 good aggressive players in the hand, so I don't think this is going to work out too well for Rob most of the time. But with that price,
I never hate defending the blind from min raise. I'm a limit player. I'm used to it, but you don't see it that often, especially from inexperienced players. So that's an interesting decision, and I don't think he's going to stick around with a gut shot here.
I don't really like Ben's flat here out of the small. Do you like his call?
It's interesting. That's a tough spot.
He's got the stack size that he could have shipped with 20 blinds. I mean, that would have been a reasonable play, I think, to ship over a cutoff open with the suited ace there with 20 blinds. Don't you think, Tyler?
That's definitely a reasonable spot to do that. 20 blinds is a lot in this tournament at this point.
Yeah.
Though it's
Okay,
not.
hold
it's
it,
not
hold
small
it. Look at this.
amount.
So let's talk about this for a second. Wow. Rob putting this 10-6 to use here.
I mean, he flopped
So
a gut shot.
Ben
There's
leads
some
out for a
equity.
very small bet. He leads out for 700,000 into a pot that had more than 2.5 million in it. And Rob senses weakness in that bet and thinks it's got to be probably a mediocre made hand, which is what it is. And
But
he's-
what
he's
does
going
Rob
after
have
it.
that he just
Well, you
called
know,
from the
he's
big
got a gut
blind?
shot.
No,
I mean,
but if
he
you're
could've-
in Ben's spot,
he
what do you
could've
think
king
that Rob?
10.
Yeah,
He could have queen jack maybe
Yeah.
even ace jack. I mean, that's not out of the question.
yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to represent that he either flopped the nuts or flopped bottom two, maybe top and bottom, like guys.
That's a
I
pretty
don't- I
small
don't
range of hands,
see
but I'm
him
still
having
probably gonna have to
sets.
fold in this spot. This is impressive.
Wow, Rob doesn't, or
Boy,
Ben
look
doesn't
at Ben
believe it.
opening up his play here. That's
Wow.
a great read. That's just a great read.
I don't really like this shove by Ben. I mean, if Rob is bluffing here,
Let him bluff again.
well, like if Rob's bluffing here, he's bluffing with like no equity versus your hand.
Mhm.
Like there's not a straight draw or I mean this is the most equity he can have. He has 19%.
Well, no,
That's not a
there's
lot.
there's pair plus. You could have Jack 10 or Queen 10
I mean,
or Ace 10.
but do you really expect those types of hands to raise that often on these types of boards? Like
Well, I don't expect any hand to raise
That's
from
true,
this
that's true.
spot.
yeah, I guess Jack 10 would make some sense here, but even that like if you're Rob and the turn's a 10, like let's say Ben calls and Rob is Jack 10 and the turn's a 10, like that's not a great situation for Jack 10.
Right.
On the other hand, this is makes his decisions easier. I mean,
does
if
make
he
a
were to just
decision
call, he
easier.
would have to figure out what he's going to do. Is he really going to check call it off on a bad turn card and go with his read?
Absolutely.
Is he really going to then push in on the turn if he wants to clean up, thinking that his opponent's going to take a free card, he wants to clean up his equity then? So this just says, okay, there's a ton of money out there already.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you. I'm going to make sure I win this hand.
It could also fold out ace-3 through ace-9.
Absolutely.
Sure. A lot of hands.
We don't think those are all that likely for, but we're having trouble giving Rob a range here.
I
because
wouldn't
there
think
aren't a lot of hands that
10-6
make sense.
is in his
Right.
range.
We certainly wouldn't have given him 10-6.
I think Ben just picked up on that. I don't really believe you. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now
great
Ben's
play.
telling him he has an ace, even though Rob didn't seem to ask. Kind of took his headphones out. And
That
Ben
was
is
a
telling
great
the
play.
truth. He did have an ace, and yeah, that's a fantastic play.
It was a good
Fantastic
read.
read.
It was
At
a
least
good read. more
at
than
least a
anything,
good
I
read.
think.
Yeah, at least a good read.
So Ben's really making, or Rob rather, is really making some moves. No. I'm sorry,
Ben,
the
both.
first time.
Both
I'm
Well,
sorry.
they both are. They
They're
both made
sitting
some
next
moves
to
on
each
that
other,
hand.
and they have these small 3-letter names, and our graphics keep switching positions, and I'm just getting confused.
You know, one of them ripped it in with the ace deuce, and the other one raised flop with 10-6. So they're both making moves.
Yeah. The action has definitely opened up since it got 7-handed once we lost the micro stacks.
Looks like now Dan Buzzgon's on the big blind.
He is the short stack now, isn't he? Michael is, him and Michael are both the two short stacks here, and they both are right about the same.
Yeah, Ben has moved up nicely to over 30 blinds here, so he's definitely.
Ben's in third place now.
Yeah.
They do have.
Rob only has 10 blinds, and he's going to make an automatic shove here. This is just cooler for
Rob.
Rob. I mean, you can see how fast these guys got it in. This is as automatic as it gets here.
Yep.
Yeah, Dan was
one
down
had
to less
decision.
than 10 bigs there.
So Rob, though, is all in for less. So he's at risk here, and he's in real bad shape against the ace-queen
I think
suited.
Dan is actually at risk here still.
Oh, really?
Dan was checking out his manicure there.
Our graphic says
Not
that
very
Dan still
nervous
has
about
money
that.
behind. Is that
Oh, that might be right.
Dan-
You know what? You might be right.
Dan has flopped the nuts either way, so he's.
We
gonna-
need a
he's-
spade
he
here
needs
for
a
a
spade
Yeah,
split.
or
running spades for
running
Rob
full
is,
house
or running
something.
chop
Yeah.
is the only way that he's going to do it.
Ooh.
And that's the card Rob was looking for. With that, Rob has a lot of outs now. Still looking for a queen to chop or a spade to take the win. The ace is not going
Not
to do
gonna
it.
do it, no.
That was a good sweat. I like a good sweat. I mean, I'm kind of rooting for Dan. He's a buddy. I don't know if I need to be unbiased as a commentator.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be unbiased. Dan Buzzgon is a friend of mine too, and I think we're all rooting for him to have his first victory today. I mean, we all feel bad for Rob Saladin, who had
I picked up $47,000
yeah,
for his efforts
had
here.
no choice but to move in with the ace-jack there.
No, definitely a
And
core.
just ran into a hand.
And he made some plays. He wasn't just sitting around. He,
he
I
opened
think he
up-
deserved to be here.
And opened up at exactly the right time, too. He waited for the short stacks to bust, and then he saw an opportunity six-handed to go after some chips. It didn't work out, but to his credit, the 10-6 hand was a good read. The Ben leading out didn't have very much.
That first might have worked against me.
Yeah.
Like,
I said I would have folded in his spot.
you know,
too.
it's one of those
Yeah.
spots where you say, like, I don't really believe this guy, but, like, what? I don't think he bluffs here.
Right.
You know, and I would just move all in and expect to get snap called.
Yeah, I think both players made really good reads in that hand, and one of them had to win, and now.
And I don't think that affected Rob's tournament because if he wins that pot, I think he's still getting it in there with Dan. I guess he might have had a little more chips, so
Yeah, but there.
he'd be
even
alive
with-
maybe. But
I don't know. Yeah, he might be alive, but he was going to be in bad shape with that ace-jack, ace-queen blind
Yeah.
on blind situation. So now we are five-handed. Everyone who's left is guaranteed at least $58,259.
that's great. And the stacks have combined a little bit now, so they're deeper.
Yeah, no
so
true
that's more
short
fun.
stacks.
Dan has 29 big ones, and he's 4th out of 5
Oh,
right
that's
now.
great. Now there's some real
This
play
is
for at
much,
least a half
much
an hour.
different than we saw before.
Yeah, so Mike, who we haven't seen a ton
There we go.
from,
There's the
is,
graphic we were just
is
looking for.
at 12 blinds.
I'll tell you
And
though,
everyone
he's
else
been
has
playing
playable stacks.
perfectly.
Yeah,
He
well,
has
look how well he's
I don't
done.
think he's made a mistake yet.
Moved
He's
from 11,000 to
moved up
58,000.
quite a
Yeah.
lot in the pay ladder. We are going to see for sure some interesting pods. I mean, I think that this is kind of what I expected to see. At least with 3 of the guys here, you kind of knew we were going to see the 2 Dans at least make some moves here, and Leo obviously with all the chips and how aggressive he is. Interesting to see Ben kind of come out of his shell a bit and making some moves. Should make short-handed play very interesting. And
Yeah,
this-
we'll see more 3-bets than we've been seeing, I think, and we might even see A
some
4 bet,
flops.
which I don't think we've seen a 4 bet yet today.
No.
Now that they have room to fold
Yeah.
after 3 betting,
Yes,
we will.
There
see
are now
a
4
bet.
players with stacks who can 3 bet and then fold to a 4 bet. So there's room for a lot more pre-flop fireworks. And I like the post-flop fireworks too. I really enjoyed that 10-6
Maybe we'll
hand.
see some more multiple streets of betting. We've only seen I think
Ooh,
one
A
hand.
bet on the turn would be fun.
Yeah.
So
Dan bet the turn. Dan Walk bet the turn twice so far.
Yes.
One of them was
Ben
that
opens on the
5-8.
button. He 3X's here with Jack 10 offsuit. That's a little surprising to
That's
me.
very
Wow.
surprising.
I mean, there's a
And small blind will fold.
chance that's
He was
not correct.
min raising before.
Then we'll scoop the pot.
Yeah, that graphic might be wrong.
I think
too.
it's
I see.
100,000.
I think I only saw 2 stacks of 4 white chips there, so maybe that was a min raise. Either way, he takes down the blinds, however he sized it.
Leo is our small blind. Michael's our big
Ben
blind.
Beeman says here is a diehard Philadelphia sports fan. Tyler is a diehard Seattle sports fan.
That's true.
you
Not
going to
not as much as Matt Affleck, of course, but I am a diehard fan.
Are you going to the Super Bowl again this year?
It's interesting. I'm going to be in Arizona. I don't think I'm going to go to the game. I'm hosting a Super Bowl party with a girlfriend, and we're having a bunch of people who are going to the game come stay with us. So,
Wow.
we're going to have a party, I think, at the house. So,
How do you like the Seahawks chances?
I think it's really fun that it's a pick 'em.
Isn't that great?
I'm gonna get slaughtered for saying this. I didn't even know the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl.
Oh wow!
I know the
Come on.
Patriots made
You're
it.
asking for
I
it.
know the Patriots made it because that's all anyone's talked about are the stupid
Whoa, look at
footballs for the last week.
Seriously, I sat down at a table and the 3 tables around me were all talking about deflated footballs.
Yeah,
I heard it
it's amazing.
from every angle.
I did not know the Seahawks were in it though. I will admit that.
Yeah,
I can't
Buzz-
wait to get
Buzz has got a
slaughtered.
monster hand on the button here, so obviously he's going to open. We'll see what.
Pretty sure it'll be a min raise.
If I was
Yeah, it is.
Leo or Dan Walk here in the blinds, I would just never think that Buzzgon's gonna wake up with a hand here, just because like he finally has some chips to do some stuff. He's gonna raise like super wide here, and I'd be probably looking to make a play against him. So
Yeah.
him waking up with a hand there is like so lucky.
That
for
could
him.
have been
Yeah.
huge. Yeah, it turned out
Um,
the blinds had absolutely nothing to
They
work
had
with.
really bad
Yeah,
hands.
so
Yeah.
that's unfortunate for Dan because that could have been a great spot for him to get 3-bet light.
I don't care how light I'm looking to make a play. Usually 10-2 off is not the hand I'm looking for.
Me too. I know some people will play any 2 cards in certain situations. I often don't. I usually draw the line somewhere. I'll say, all right, I'm going to widen to 90% of my hands. here."
Yeah,
But-
usually a 96th% hand is not what you're looking for.
Right.
Sometimes for me, there's spots that the hand dictates what I'm doing, or I mean the spot dictates what I'm doing over the hand, and I don't
I'll
care
say
if I have any equity or not.
Yeah, I mean, there are times that I'm 100% opening, I guess, but not. I don't think there's ever a time I'm 100% 3-betting. Maybe that's a weakness in my own game.
I find some spots like that, but it's not very often.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the whole spot picking versus more kind of structured
Yeah.
range-based thinking.
Exactly. I'm more of the range-based style of play. But I
Coming
pick
from
spots too.
Coming from a limit background, that makes sense.
Yes.
When you're going the showdown always. So
Right. I mean, I know we're not going to showdown always in this game, but I do like to think about the possibility of going to showdown. Ooh, this is a big hand in the small blind here for Michael, and he's going to have, I would think, no choice but to move in here.
I think so too.
Pretty interesting spot for Dan
I
now.
think that's what he's done. Now, it was Dan Walk who opened, right?
No, Dan Buzzgon.
Oh, it's Buzzgon.
Yeah,
Buzzgon.
Buzzgon's in the cutoff.
Oh, it is.
Walk
Dan
folded
Buzzgon
the
who
4s easily, which was, I think that was pretty easy. Now this is an interesting spot, really.
This is like a straight math equation for him, and I think that's what you're going to see him do: ask for a count, and then just kind of try to run the numbers in his head and see if King Queen is good enough to put the chips in here.
Yeah, I mean, he knows it would be good enough if it were just about the chips, but it's because of the pay jumps that makes the math a little trickier.
Well, it also because of the pay jumps, I think it makes Michael's range tighter.
Yes.
So like it may not be good just because of the chips, because Michael maybe
Fair
doesn't
point,
shove hands
fair
like
point.
ace-10 anymore, that he would if it was earlier in the tournament. Yeah, and you see him kind of thinking about it there.
The
I think Dan's going to lay this down, actually.
Another consideration here is how it changes the playability of your stack going forward. So if you win 12 big blinds from having, how much does he have?
He has about 30 big ones.
Yeah,
So that gets you
Dan
to
has
40.
30 big ones.
So going from 30 to 42 is a big deal, but going from 30 down to 18 is a much bigger change. So I think that you need a little bit better than what the chips suggest in order to
That's a good
call on a
point.
spot like that.
I don't know. 18's close, though. Dan knows what he's doing with 18 bigs. I wouldn't be super upset if I lost this hand if I was him.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
if it got you
Michael
down to
turned
12 bigs or something
okay,
like
if
that, it
Michael
would
turns
be-
his hand face up, do you still call?
Absolutely.
Then which
Yeah.
is what I think kind of the situation you're in with King Queen here. I think a large portion of the time you're just like right here, 42%, 40% equity.
Yeah.
And the problem is that sometimes you're at 25, and you're probably never at. I mean, earlier in a tournament, you can give someone king jack or queen jack something.
Not,
but,
I don't
but
think
not in
you're,
this
I don't
spot,
think
no.
you're ever ahead with king queen
And that's
here.
the problem here, and that's because of moving
Well, you
himself
can be the
into
other side. Yeah. no,
right
I
now,
guess
he's at
it's
a 30
fine, yeah.
blind stack where there's, I mean, if Dan wins, he's going to move up to about probably 15 or 16 blinds. So that you can take that situation, or you can risk basically being tied for the short stack, or you're actually moving to become the short stack if he loses this pot. So
I feel like I would probably call if I was him. Yeah, he
think
does
so,
call.
too.
I mean,
he is a pre-flop
I always call.
It's
there,
really
but-
close,
Yeah,
but I think I would call.
I'm calling there most of the time.
So Michael's going to be flipping for his tournament life now. And if Dan can win this pot, Dan is going to be, he might be the chip leader, actually.
Not a great flop for Dan. No backdoor draws.
Michael's definitely
Looking for
liking
all
that
cards.
and just wants to keep the cards low to secure the double. Dan just looking for the king or the queen. Eight of spades does nothing to change anything.
Pretty
Michael
run out for
picks up some straight outs, but doesn't need them.
Dan's going to be down to 19 blinds if he loses, and he does.
So Michael doubles up.
And Michael doubles to 9.4 million, so that's going to be
almost
about
25.
20,
Little more than what Dan
23,
has, yeah.
24.
Now
So-
Dan's pretty
so
upset.
Dan
that he called.
Buzzgon is going to be the short stack now.
You know,
It's a
this
tricky
is-
spot because of the way the stack sizes
It definitely
work.
is. That's one of those spots. If Michael has one big blind less, you call. If he's one big blind more, you fold. And when he's got that, you just don't know what to do. If your hand is suited, you call. If you hit king jack, you would fold. It's
Yeah, king jack.
King
We'd
jack
all
would
fold.
be-
We'd
king
all
jack would
fold.
be-
just
an easy fold, yeah.
everything is so
That's
close
amazing
about
that,
that hand.
king queen is a tough call. And king jack's a pretty easy fold.
It's
for all
so
three
it's
of us.
so funny that, you know, sometimes with all of the different hands people could be playing and stuff, it literally just comes down to one tick in either direction with hand strength or chips or anything.
That's a
Yeah.
big change in the tournament.
Your
right
point about the suited one is a great. I think king queen suited we all would have
I
said
would
he's
call.
got to call.
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
call
We,
you.
we would have probably called with this hand as well, but it
I
was
think I would.
really
I would have.
close. Yeah.
To have a shot, to have the chip lead there, and be in okay shape, is I think
If
having
it put
20 big
you-
blinds left, I think it's fine.
Yeah, if it would have put Dan down to 12 or 13, then maybe
Yeah,
I would have
it's a little bit
folded,
closer
but
then.
if with it's still workable. You don't have to be 3-bet shoving except for in good spots.
You know, and this is where like we talked about ICM and like calling off here. Like, do you want to call off with king queen there? Are there big pay jumps coming up? That type of stuff. And you know, you guys both kind of agreed that at this point, 5-handed or 6-handed,
Five-handed.
5-handed.
The next
At this
two are
point,
pretty
5-handed. Like, let's go. Like, we're gonna win this tournament now. And I think that's what Buzzgon was kind of thinking there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a great point, and that's why calling is the right decision, because it's 12,000 for the next jump and 12,000 for the jump after, and then the jumps get really big. So
You can take a chip lead to 4-handed if you knock him out there and you win that flip.
yeah,
That's,
I mean that's
huge momentum.
that's a spot he has to call.
So Dan Walk again folds. I mean 7-4. I would expect a fold there usually. Not too much to work with for him, and Ben will take the walk.
Ben quietly moving up very nicely here.
I wasn't doing it so quietly a couple hands earlier, but they still have a large number of physical chips in play. I'm kind of surprised they haven't colored them.
I
up a
think
little
they
bit.
like that. I
That's
think it makes
unique to
it
the
makes for good
Borgata.
TV.
I mean,
think.
it does, but they have 4 colors in play too, which is a little surprising.
Wow, those are still 5,000 chips.
Yeah,
blue
they still have
chips.
the
yeah,
5Ks in
that seems
play.
kind of silly. We're playing 200,000, 400,000 blinds.
It makes the
why
players
do they have
think.
those in
It makes
play?
the players feel like they have more chips, which is good for action. So I don't mind it.
I suppose. I think these guys are all kind of know what they're dealing with here.
Oh,
on
yeah, I
this-
just meant
the-
theoretically.
This 5.
I want to see someone post a big blind by putting 4 stacks of those blue chips down.
You would see it. I'm not super shocked to see that type of stuff. You know, it's funny. Like we talked about this being a 2,800 person field and all the $400. Anybody can come down and play this. There's not one weak spot at this table.
Yeah, this is a
Every
really strong
single
final
person
five,
is
absolutely.
not afraid to put chips in the middle. No one's looking to ladder up it anymore.
Really, even 10-handed was real tough.
10-handed was really tough. It was like we said from the start. It was a tough final table. But
Once they got rid of that dead weight in 11th, then the tournament got tough.
We love you, Jamie.
That makes Daniel our small blind and Leo our big blind this hand.
do we know Ben's tournament history? Has Ben played a
I think we have a
A
little
large
bit
number of
somewhere, don't we?
tournaments.
I don't think he has a ton of experience.
He's sure not acting like it. He seems to be making moves with the best of them.
I just was looking at his Twitter feed earlier, and that was the only information I found on him.
Oh yeah, he sent me a tweet earlier saying that this is his only big live cash.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
that let's see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I got it here. He said, 5 cash of my career. Been playing poker on my spare time for the past 12 years. I love to gamble. So
Yeah, he's playing really well for a guy who writes that.
if you love to
really
gamble, this is
surprising.
pretty exciting
Absolutely.
here to be 5-handed at the Borgata $1 million guaranteed event.
But I mean, he's not just firing away either, though. He's picked some pretty good spots to gamble.
Yeah, I mean,
That
it-
ace deuce
I mean,
was a great read.
Absolutely. So
What do we have going on here?
I think BuzzGone has opened the cutoff, and he's run into Leo in the big buzz. Was it Buzz who opened, or was it?
I think
two
it's Dan
Dans,
Walk.
so it's really
Dan walks in the
Walk.
cutoff. Yeah. Positions are weird too because they're all on the same side of the table, so we
Right.
feel like he can't be the cutoff, but he quickly folds. Again, Dan just ran into another hand here, and this is the type of stuff that really can get to you when somebody plays back at you, and you just don't know. Are these guys bluffing me? Do they have good hands? And I think that this is where them being able to find out the whole cards 30 minutes later can make a difference.
Yeah, because Dan might have been getting frustrated by now if he hadn't found out, actually, that he was behind every time. And that's a really big hand.
Those slots again, guys. Come play them. Instant bonus if you play the slots.
You could end up with a success story via slot machines, just
Just
like Matt
win
Matros
slots
here.
and then become a poker pro just like Matt.
Each instant bonus is a guaranteed bonus slot dollar winner. Receive up to 10 total instant bonuses.
Wow.
Thursday through Saturday. Come on down.
I will
Slots
be
are the
here.
gateway drug to poker, guys.
Perfect.
Getting back to the hole cards, when P.S. Hines won the main event, I was on his rail, and we all had the live stream up and everything like that. And in the beginning of heads up play, he was like losing a ton of pots, and we were like kept calling him over, like he has like really good hands, like he's not running you over, he's not bluffing you, he just keeps getting dealt the nuts, like hang in there. And that was like a really big, I feel like a confidence boost at that point. And I feel like Dan kind of needs the same thing. Like someone's got to go pat him on the back and say, yo, they're just waking up with hands.
Dan Walk is right back out of here with the gun. And Dan BuzzGun's got pocket deuces, which he can go a bunch of ways with this. He can, of course, just fold. It's not a very good hand facing a raise, but he could choose to make a light.
What does he have,
here.
7 million?
I think he's going to shove or fold.
I
don't
think it's
think
a
he's going
shove
to just
spot.
3-bet. Yeah, he only has 7 million. And
Tyler, you think it's a shove spot too?
So it is, but I
Yeah.
think because the next 2 payouts are nothing, and I mean not nothing, they're
Relatively
$12,000
speaking,
each, but
yeah.
yeah, relative to the 190 for first, I think this is the time to be shoving any spot that is decent. And
knowing how playing with Dan Walk, knowing how wide he opens, and knowing that him getting shoved on all those times is really not going to shake him, I would certainly shove twos there.
It looks like Leo defended from the small
He
block
did. He
here,
called the small.
flatted with 9-7 of hearts, and obviously he's flopped huge here.
So we don't know Dan's hand, but we can only assume that Dan is behind
You
at
have
this
to
point.
assume that Dan is in trouble yet again. He's really not had the cards go his way at this table so far.
Although he certainly could have equity on this board. I would imagine Dan's opening a lot of hands like 10-8, 8-7, 7-5, 7-4, even that type of stuff. Or I guess 7-4 doesn't really have a lot of equity here, but
now it does.
10-7, that
Well,
type
let's
of
hope
stuff.
he has that
yeah.
10-7 if you're rooting for Dan in this pot.
Interesting. Before
When
Leo,
he checks back, he can pretty much rule out 10-7, I would say.
before Leo called the flop, he kind of shifted his weight around a bit. Like he was kind of excited about Dan betting.
Leo only makes a third pot size bet on the river here, 1.2 million into 3.6, and so he's going to get looked up by any of the pairs that Leo might have checked back on
Dan.
this turn card here. Sorry,
Yeah.
that Dan might have checked back on this turn card here. He might even get looked up. Well, it's kind of a tough call with something
The
like
8 is a bad card.
Yeah, 8's a
for-
really bad
Well, I
card.
think if Dan has a hand like 8-7,
Yeah.
you might see him call in for sure there.
Yeah, I think so
You
too.
know, that
I
type
mean,
of stuff.
If he had 2 5s, I think he might even
Those are tough
call.
spots.
But it's, I mean, with Ace-King, I think he's going to fold.
Yeah, I don't think he calls ace high there.
I don't think 5s and ace king are much different.
Yeah,
I think I
I
probably
mean-
fold both of them. It's a tough. I mean, you have to,
Really,
you have
eights
to
are-
actually be believing him a little bit to be folding those hands.
The 8's a really bad card. It turned out to be a great card because it saved him money. Leo having him flop really big.
So Joe and Rally tweets into us, how you've been running in recent hands come into your decision like the one that Buzzgon had, presumably with the king queen. So do you think that comes into play at all? You know, since Dan has maybe been running kind of hot, he held in. Did he hold in a flip earlier in the final table? No, but he won with the aces, and you know he had stuff like that. I feel like he's running good, and maybe want to make the call.
I mean, in my opinion, that shouldn't matter at all. But I mean, I don't really understand the whole spectrum of the world. I don't understand how to play baccarat.
You're
so
not
right.
into the karma of the poker gods.
No, personally,
shining
I
down
think
on
it
you
means
one day.
nothing. But I could easily be wrong about that.
I would imagine that experiences Buzzgon's not really factor that in. You know, sometimes when you have really a lot of chips, you might make a wider call because you have a lot of chips and you don't mind taking a marginal spot. But I think in a situation like that, he's headed, and it doesn't matter if he's won 10 pots in a row or lost 10 pots in a row. I don't think it's really
Yeah,
changing
you
his
don't play
decision.
differently because you've been getting better cards. You might play differently having won a bunch of pots because your stack size is different and the situation becomes different. And so it's like you've gone on a heater where you won a bunch of pots, now you're ready to fun, but it's because you're putting pressure on short stacks, not because you think, oh, I've been getting so lucky I'm going to.
It's not that your cards are going to match more.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that, but there are definitely successful poker players who do not think that way.
And there's like a psychological element too. I mean, you're going to be more confident if you've been winning and getting better cards for the most part than if you've been losing every hand. So even though, Tyler, the first thing you said was it shouldn't matter, and I think we agree it shouldn't matter, but sometimes it does matter anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Jamie.
What did Jamie say?
Jamie said, will you guys ever get tired of needling me?
That's
With
great
a
to
little
hear.
angry
Probably not
face.
today. I mean, someday we'll get tired of it, but I doubt today will be that
Yeah,
day.
probably in 2087 when we're all long gone.
In case you missed it, Jamie Kerstetter, who was a commentator for the first event here, made a great run in this event, and she finished 11th, just missing being on this live stream. And we were all looking forward to watching her play and commentating on it. But
So we just decided to do it anyway. even though
yeah,
she's
so
not
we're
here.
just pretending she's here and, you know, making fun of her a little bit.
Oh, here
Here's
we
a
go.
3-bet.
Michael
And
finally has enough chips to 3-bet fold, and we're seeing the first
We
one.
have not seen off him at all because he's been so short, but I think he's showing his true colors here.
Started the hand with 21.5 blinds, and he's going to 3-bet with the plan of folding to a 4-bet, I assume. So nice aggressive move with King-9 suited. I like this play.
I love this. I think that Leo's going to have a really tough time, you know, shoving on him. My only concern is that he made it a little small.
You
Leo
think,
open
you
at
think he's in
9?
danger of getting flatted? Is that your
Well,
concern with that?
You
Or-
know, against certain players, I don't think that
Yeah, that's
that
absolutely
they're
gonna
right.
get
that they're gonna call too much. But we just saw Leo call with 9-7
I'm
from the
surprised-
small blind. You know,
exactly
Leo
right. You got to know your
just
opponent
from
here.
playing with him.
I
And
was seeing Leo just shove in there with ace-10. That's a pretty strong hand for him to be opening in the cutoff with.
But Michael's tight image, I think, kept Leo playing.
Yeah,
because
I
of keep
think you're right.
calling. You know, now if I'm Michael, I really like this flop. I would
Yeah,
imagine
me
Leo doesn't
too.
have too many aces, and I would think that I'm going to win the pot a lot. but-
Michael is the one who looks like he has an ace. Now we know it's exactly the
well,
opposite
hold
situation.
it. Leo just led.
No, Michael's out of. Oh no,
Yeah,
you're right.
Michael's
Yeah,
a
you're right.
button.
Leo let out for 1 million into 4.8.
That's a
with
really
his
small
ace?
bet. How do you read this if you're Michael? Do you think he has an ace here? Do you think he's just taking a stab with a hand like 2 6s?
I think
the latter,
it could be a
actually.
stab. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would make a very small raise
I would-
probably,
I-
and then fold.
I
if
would.
got
I
any more
agree.
heat.
I would make it like 2.5 million.
Looks like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And stacks are
2.2
getting
or something.
really short now. Michael just put
I
in
mean,
about a third of his remaining chips.
When you bet 1 million into 4.6, I'm not going to give you a strong hand. Now it happens that he has a strong hand, or we think he has a strong
reasonably
hand. Does
strong.
Leo think he has a strong hand? What's
mean,
Leo going to do here?
You have
I
an
don't
ace with
think-
like the 4th best kicker here.
I
Yeah,
think,
but there's
I
so
think
much-
Leo bet to
Look
try
how
to
much
find
money
out
is
where he was.
Look how much money is in the pot already. Can he really get away from this hand? I mean,
Reasonably, he shouldn't. But the reason he bet was to
To see
try
if
to
his
get
hand
away
was
with
good.
the
it.
problem with
yeah.
this logic is that you don't find out betting 1 million into 4.6.
Not when
million.
Michael's capable of making
Yeah,
a play like this,
yeah,
at least.
Right.
I still don't think he necessarily folds here. I think he's going to just flick in 1 million and see what happens. And
Yeah,
if
maybe.
Michael can, you know, muster up the courage to put the rest of it in, I think he might win the pot. But if not, then I think they're just going to check it down and Leo's going to win. I'd be very surprised if Leo shoved here.
It was a good call by you, Gag, saying that you want to make it a little bigger when you're facing someone like Leo who might call.
Oh, wow, Leo does lay it down.
When I'm talking about the 3-bet pre-flop.
Got to say that's not the ideal way to play that hand.
with ace-10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Insinuating nice hand.
You know, that's the problem with the weak lead like that is that against players who are weaker, you can find out if your hand is good, and you can get them to perhaps put more chips in with a hand like 2 queens that they might not put chips in. But against a player like Michael, who's capable of bluffing,
I think
it's
Leo
not going to work out for you.
sees Michael as a tight, straightforward player because he's been so short.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is just with the stacks are so short, and they're probably used to it by now because they've been playing so shallow at this whole final table. But when you 3-bet and put in a quarter of your chips, and you're willing to see the flop with ace-10 for a quarter of your opponent's chips,
That's a really good flop for you.
Yeah, there's just nothing you can really do about it when an ace flops. I mean, you don't necessarily have to put it in yourself, but at least try to check and call, let him bluff it off or something. But
Hey, here's a good deal for you if you guys are looking to come to the Borgata Sunday through Thursday for $169 a night. You get an overnight stay at the Borgata, $100 towards dining, and 2 tickets to a comedy show. That's a pretty good deal.
The rooms are nice here. Food's great. That's a pretty good deal.
And you get 2 free tickets to a show.
you get free Wi-Fi, and you can play Borgata Poker Open Satellites
I
at
actually
BorgataPoker.com.
did that deal once.
Wow.
I did. I came down with my wife. We found it. I think it was a Groupon deal or something at that time. But yeah, it was great. We went to a nice dinner, and then we went to this comedy show, and it cost us like nothing for the room because
Guys,
you know,
did
dinner.
Leo limp under the gun with King 10 offsuit here, and then Michael limped behind him?
That's
in
what
the
it looks
cutoff
like.
with 2 threes.
Interesting.
Buzz is checking his big blind.
I'm
and
really
offsuit.
surprised to see Michael limp those 2 threes.
I'm surprised by both limps, to tell you the truth. but
Well, this is going to be trouble now.
I like the limp with Michael.
it's going to be action, is what it's going to be. Leo's got top pair with the King of Hearts, and Michael's got
Oh,
a set.
boy.
So this is going to be action, is what it's going to be.
Leo checked. I'm honestly surprised to see Leo check.
Yeah,
I would
there's
expect
an
to see him
unraised
bet.
pot, and so you wouldn't be dunking, as they say, by leading out. It'd be a very natural bet to lead out. Buzz, of course, is folding because he has nothing, but the other 2 guys are going to have some fireworks here.
Also, like, if you're Leo, you don't want Michael just, like, taking a free card. Well, he's going to raise now. And I guess he thought by checking he was trapping Michael, you know, because he has such good equity with his top pair and his flush draw.
Absolutely.
This pot's going to get big.
But unfortunately, for Michael just has him in pretty bad shape here.
I would expect Michael to raise back, and Leo's not going to be able to fold, I don't think.
No, I think they're going to get it in here for sure.
If Michael doesn't raise back, then it could slow down if a heart comes or if the board pair. The board pair might not slow down.
Now, what do you
that
think in Michael's spot? I would be pretty positive that Leo has a heart that he's not folding. So if I was in Michael's spot, I might just take the turn and make sure a heart doesn't come.
Also, there's an outside chance Leo could be bluffing.
But if a heart does come, are you going to fold? I guess if he bombs, it's there. Well, here's the
It
fourth heart.
depends. It depends. But that way you don't have to just get it in versus 35%
So this
or whatever.
unraised pot preflop is now 5 million.
This
Leo
is
has turned the king high flush.
this is honestly like a kind of tricky spot if you're Leo. Even though you have
He's
the
betting
king
it
of
for
hearts.
value. Yeah, I mean, you're
like-
not getting called by many worse hearts. So
I mean,
it's a tricky spot.
like Michael could have limped queen 10 with the queen of hearts, or
Yeah, there's some hands you get
he
called
could
by.
have like the ace of hearts here. It's not like
Oh,
out of
for
the
sure,
question.
For sure, he can have hearts.
You know, so like if I'm Leo, I don't know how big I want to make this pot
So
necessarily.
he makes it a half pot size bet here with the king of hearts. I suspect Michael's going to call here, hoping to improve on the river.
I
and
would suspect
hoping
he does the same.
that Leo bluffs. I mean, it's pretty hard to raise at this point.
If you call here and the river's just a brick,
If you're raising, it's with the intention of getting a weak heart to fold. So
There
and
is
then
a-
and then having
he's
70
not
off
going to
equity.
raise. He's just
I
going to call and
certainly
hope
don't
the
think
board
so.
pairs.
Yeah.
And if the board pairs, he's going to win the pot. If it doesn't, he's just going to fold.
He could also Leo could be bluffing and be shutting down if
he has nothing,
Michael
for sure.
calls here. So
Yeah.
you're not
It's tough
you're
to
not
check raise
only on a draw
check
here.
raise the flop with a pure bluff. If
Yeah,
you're
looks like he's
Leo.
going to.
And Michael will make the call.
So if the board pairs, I think we're going to wind up. I think Michael's going to double up for the board pairs. If the board doesn't pair, my vote is that Leo wins the pot
And
just
our
by
river
shoving.
is
So
king of clubs.
That
by
card
not-
doesn't change anything.
by not getting it in on the flop,
Leo immediately announces all in. Value betting all in with the king of hearts.
by not getting in on the flop, Michael stays in the tournament. Which when you know,
Well, if he finds a
someone's
fold here,
range-
he hasn't folded yet.
Which I think he will. I mean, he got check raised on the flop, and the players continue to bet the turn and river. It's very on the hand that does not have a heart in it at this point.
I agree. I think he's going to get away from
The
it.
only way he might talk himself into a call is if he says kind of what we were talking about, which is there are not that many hearts that Leo would want to value bet this way. Pretty much just the ace of I think. Now, it turns out we can see that he has the king of hearts, but the heart he would be worried about is the ace of hearts, but that's enough of a worry to get him to play this down.
I'd have a hard time putting Leo on a hand like just the ace of hearts that way to pre-flop. Like, if he has ace 5 or ace 10 off, like, I would think he's going to raise pre-flop. So if I'm Michael,
I would think he would raise pre-flop with any.
So would I. Like, if I'm
stakes,
Michael, I'm thinking like he's limping maybe like ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited. I mean,
so
the 3 and the 2
you're
are on
worried
the
more
board.
about him having flopped the flush.
Exactly,
Yeah.
flop the flush, and then, you know, we were just behind the whole way. So
Yep.
I think what's
And
going
that's
through
really
Michael's
that's how he
head,
played it. That's why he didn't re-raise the flop. So he's basically played it as if he's
Yeah.
worried about the flush being flopped, the 2-card flush.
If I'm going through Michael's, if I think what's going through his head is that he either flopped the flush or he's bluffing me. Like, I don't think he is going to expect to see the king of hearts here.
With a player like Leo, I don't take that much out of his range pre-flop.
That's
the
true.
limp. I don't like to narrow it down to just suited aces
Yeah.
or something like that. 'Cause
But I do-
people do unreasonable things, and I think you have to leave some unreasonable hands in people's
And Leo's
ranges.
changed it up a number of times so far.
To me, though, the combination of the check raise on the flop with the bet, I mean, it's just
Oh, he wants the call so bad.
how do we? What hand do we have to give him to not find a heart?
Queen Jack off.
Just Queen
That's the
Jack
only
off
hand.
and just
Literally
Jack
it.
9 off.
Maybe
like,
Jack
yeah.
9. I mean, he could have like Jack 9 of
Place
clubs or
it down,
something.
And he
Leo
would really
goes
keep
into
firing,
the
even if the guy called in the turn, like instant all in the river.
And he
I
shows the
don't know.
10.
Some people do that sometimes with they might check raise a hand like just a 10 and
then bluff.
then turn it into a bluff
Yeah.
afterwards. Or, I mean,
Michael does not look very.
The 10 shouldn't be a bad thing for Michael because
No, I would think he's ace 10 with the ace of hearts.
I mean, if he were bluffing, he's less likely to have a 10, right?
Yeah.
So if he shows a 10,
Less likely.
yeah, it's probably meant that there's a heart with it.
yeah.
200, 400 are blinds.
I mean, we
Leo
know
three are big
that Leo
blinds
had the
with
king of hearts
even
with it,
hand.
but I'm saying if you were in Michael's position,
Absolutely, yeah.
you would suspect that you should suspect that was
Yeah, that
probably a
check
value
raise
bet.
very much leads.
And like I said, Leo did this before too when he showed just the ace of hearts when in fact he had 2 hearts for a flush.
No, that was
for the
Dan.
nuts. Oh, that
That
wasn't-
was Dan Walk. Yeah.
Oh, it was Dan Walk?
Yeah.
Okay, well, both guys have done this now, showing one card, trying to make them
Right.
think they weren't value betting.
And I don't know which one of you guys said it. If one of you said that, that's almost always strength.
Yeah, I said that.
And both times it
It
was.
was.
It
Yeah.
was. They both had really good hands. So little reads for you guys to pick up for the future. If you're playing, maybe
I
you can
really
use that opponents. Maybe you can use it against your opponents.
Michael will
Now you
fold.
can use it against us.
Dan folds.
I really like how Andrew Sirius is playing, and I wanted to say his name
50
again.
seconds
So.
remain. 50 seconds.
So Dan with 15 blinds on the small blind here with king 10 off. Dan Buzz, that is, Buzz gone. It's a little bit of a tricky spot. It's too good a hand to fold, but you're not thrilled about getting 15 blinds in, but I don't know how much choice you have, really. What do you guys think?
I think Dan's just going to shove.
Yeah, that's what I think, too.
I mean, I think the only reason he might do something different would be just because of the type of player Leo is, and that if he expects Leo to shove
And that's
very
exactly
wide.
what he did is he min raised and was probably planning on folding to a
I think he was
shove, and
folding,
so
yeah.
Yeah, he had to be.
That was a nice little play by Buzz
Only
gone
be able to
there.
get one more hand in.
I mean, personally, with a hand like King 10, I think it's just slightly too good to like ever want to fold pre-flop there.
Yeah,
for
it
only
is. It is
15
too
bigs.
good. You could shove in with that hand and turn your cards face up, and it's still profitable. From
I
a
don't.
chip
I don't want.
standpoint.
I don't want Leo to shove Ace Queen and then I have to fold when I could have just taken that 40 some odd percent, 38% or whatever I am.
I mean, if I know that he has Ace Queen, I'm okay not having gotten in. My thing is that